I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on anime series where I review them for you, and then I let you know how you can use them in your big eyes, small mouth games, your BESM games. Important to note, of course, you can technically use them in any role-playing game system if you want to adapt the rules yourself. But let's dive into what we have for you in store this week. I've got two more that are out this current anime season. I have one more suggestion from you lot out there, and one more going into my back in time sort of reverse direction that I've been going with anime series. So let's start with the two from this season, Fukumenkei Noise and of course Renai Boukun. But let's start with Fukumenkei Noise, or Anonymous Noise. Now, Nino is a girl that has a very enchanting voice and loves to sing. The thing is, she has had two great tragedies where she is reunited with these and made relationships with these boys in her youth, and then been separated from each of them in kind. Both of them that have increased the passion and love of song to her, but in a way then hurt her when it comes to singing. We come into high school, where she happens to be reunited with both of those boys. She ends up joining the band of one of them, the one that she last encountered, and then begins to sort of work towards gaining the attention of the other one, the one that technically was the lost love of her true childhood. But she kind of likes both of them and has this relationship with both of them, and there goes the complexity of the series, that she's torn between these two while continuing in this band she's mentored into. So that's why the genres of this one, of course, it's music. It focuses around this band and the fact that she is a great singer and has an enchanting voice. And she joins that light music club, which is where the band is for school, and kind of goes with them on their escapades. It's also, of course, a romance. You do have to see that there's a romance in here, that there is this sort of love triangle going on there, that the one guy in the band really likes her. She kind of likes him, but more likes this other boy that's technically from her childhood, even younger than that. And then he's sort of not getting into this, and it's a love triangle. It's just like that. And I would definitely call it a shoujo, which I don't use very often, because I feel like this is more for manga series, but this is a very great recreation of a manga series, and contains that essence of the shoujo type manga, which is a very lighthearted way of describing it. It's its own thing. Lighthearted, a little romancy, a little more relationship based and interaction based and emotional based. There you go. That's a good way of describing it. Now I rate this one a 3. It's a pretty decent series. I don't mind the overall sort of romancy side to it. It's got some interesting music, and the dynamics are interesting enough to draw me in without drawing me away from the fact that it does have a huge chunk of romance, which is not always my forte. Not that I can always complain about it happening. Sometimes it's useful in a series, but oftentimes it keeps me away. Now, if you're using this BESM game, I recommend 150 points, and guess what? You can have your players members of a band. And the fact is, this members of the band, which is going to be taking the place of the band in the anime/manga, they are going to have interconnected relationships between each other, and it's going to be up to your players to basically determine how they put these relationships together. So they're going to have complex relationships they're going to have to be dealing with the entire time, while still trying to be successful at the light music club, putting on shows, being in a band effectively, and basically putting themselves forward as a band, making their own original music, performing it, while still dealing with some school life, and dealing with the fact that they have all these relationships and love triangles, quadrilaterals, love hexagons. Who knows what they're going to develop. It'll probably depend on how many players you have, or if you throw some NPCs in there, and it should be complex, confusing, and should just be a mess. And the mess and trying to deal with that and develop the relationships between each other is where the fun is going to be at, and that's why this could be a great one to play. Now let's move on, though, and talk about Renai Boukun, or Love Tyrant. So this focuses on the Kiss Note, a powerful book that I guess is a, parody of the Death Note. But effectively what it is if two people's names are written in it, they are forced to basically, they fall in love, they kiss, and that's why I say they kiss and fall in love. And of course the current Kiss Note is under the control of Guri, this angel who's probably pretty close to being a devil and likes basically boys love and likes putting two males in. So she accidentally puts in Aino's name in there. And the only unfortunate thing about it is she goes to him because if he doesn't kiss someone, she will die. And so she basically appeals to him, and he ends up being convinced that, okay, he's kind of had this crush on this one girl. Why don't we put her name on into it? Turns out she's a horrible yandere and kind of murderous, and tries to go and kill him. And the result of everything is, though, her name does get put in the kiss note. But the angel kind of along the way decides she wants to learn about romance, so puts her name also in the relationship, which ends up, though, that they are all kind of angelic to a degree, so none of them can die, so the murderous psychopath girlfriend that he now sort of has can keep stabbing him and he doesn't die. And then we work with other characters that sort of get into this incredibly weird and complex relationship while they're trying to help out Guri become a better Cupid, and deal with the fact that, you know, they're in this complex relationship that doesn't really work. And they're all kind of all the girls in it are really insane, which I know. It sounds like it'd be great to be in a harem, but they're all insane and not good to be in with. So it's not a good time. It's a romantic comedy. There's a little bit of that hints of romance and those wonderful tender points, and then it switches to the comedic aspects so wonderfully, so it does make it a romantic comedy. It's the best kind of harem. It's a harem that no one in their right mind would want to be in. That's why it's the best kind of harem. Again, harem anime can be so overdone and so blah that they're kind of sometimes hard to deal with. This one's quite wonderful because it's a breath of fresh air. It's the kind of harem no one wants to be in. It's also supernatural. We have an angel and the kiss note, the bad kiss version of the death note where you are forced to kiss. I actually rate this one a 4. It surprised me how much I enjoyed it from what I've seen so far. Again, the series are not done yet. There's still a couple more weeks, a couple more episodes if they don't go 2 seasons. But from what I've seen so far, it's been very enjoyable and kind of ridiculous, enough to keep me entertained. So that's why I've kept it pretty high up there. So if you're using this BESM game, I'd recommend 200 points. Because what you're going to effectively do is you're going to have a bunch of characters in a relationship with an angel character like Guri. So effectively, you're putting all your other characters with an NPC like Guri, that's going to be your angel, and then just make them eccentric and crazy and develop weird relationships between each other that don't always make sense, so they sort of have to get along with each other because they're now all bound by this unusual destiny that they've sort of managed to sort of link into themselves with, while dealing with, of course, school life and home life, and the fact that they're sort of relied on to help Guri, well, your Guri-like character, become a better angel, to become a better Cupid, to learn more about love, because apparently they kind of should suck at it, just like Guri does. So you could have Guri, or you can have another one of your own design, and then throw them all in a relationship together and have mass chaos. And that's what it's going to be. And that's why it's going to be a fun one to play in, because the terrible relationships between the characters should be an important thing to note, that they should like each other in certain ways, but they should also be kind of insane, because insanity is good in this one. So let's move on to the one going back in time, as I've been doing with Yuki Yuna wa Yuusha Da'aru, or Yuki Yuna as a hero. We focus on this small island that's part of Japan in this fictional city, where we have Yuna and her friends who are part of this after school, these heroes club. They basically go around and help people around the island. One day they're all transported to this strange forest in this other world, where they find out that there are these strange creatures called the vertexes that are trying to travel across this world to this central tree of a power, which is a link between your world, the world, and the rest of the universes, and kind of destroying it will effectively cause our universe to crumble. So they have to accept these powers from this tree and fight against these monsters, these vertexes, in order to protect the world, while using this power that themselves, their bodies aren't really made to handle, and slowly but surely can cause deterioration to them. So effectively, they have to be heroes, and they have to save the world, and they're the type of people that are willing to do it, no matter what it costs them in the long run. So this is, of course, a magical girl. That's the best way to describe it. They're magical girls. They go into another world, they transform, they fight monsters. Magical girl. It's an action. They have intense battle scenes with these monsters, defeating new and interesting ones, defeating hordes of them, fighting back against the attacks against this tree, keeping them from going farther. It's also a drama to a good degree, because they have this fact that they have to be willing to slowly give up themselves in order to fight these things. And they might not be able to regain their selves. They might just destroy themselves in order to save the world, but they're willing to do it. They're willing to sacrifice themselves. And the slow sacrifice and trying to protect each other is where this intense drama happens. Now I rate this one a 4. There have been some other depressing magical girl ones, but this one I feel has stakes which feel right. That's the thing about it. There are other ones which have been more popular, I think, but I haven't liked them as much personally because they don't feel like the drama is necessary for a reason. In this one, the drama is because they are more than just, getting this power and fighting against these monsters. They are straining themselves to a degree that their bodies are going to eventually break down and break. But they are willing to do it. And they're such great heroes that they're willing to go through this sacrifice. These small girls in a middle school, they aren't that old, but they're willing to do so much for all of us. And I think that's why it's a great series. Now, if you're using this as a BESM game, I'd recommend 300 points. You're going to make your characters, of course, members of a hero club at whatever school or location you put them in. Then this hero club will actually gain powers to fight against the Vertex and to protect the world. So they will have to learn to balance their actual lives in school, at home, and balance the battle against these Vertexes, while can probably continue to do what they do best in their hero club because they want to maintain the illusion that they keep on going. All while the fact they have to deal with the fact of the strain they're putting on themselves and the damage they might be doing to their bodies that may never recover, and the fact that they have to keep this going in order to continue to protect the world and to push it forward, that they prove themselves to be the great heroes. That is the essence of what you're going to be doing with this BESM game. Putting your people on such a great line and making them great heroes. Now let's talk about one of the suggestions you had. Comic Party. Alright, so Comic Party. Comic Party we focus on in early April where our main character, Kazuki, is basically invited by one of his friends to help out at this comic party event, which turns out to be a doujinshi event, where doujinshi are being sold. There's huge lines, incredible, crazy people coming in here to buy these basically fan-made comics. Along the way, he begins to meet all these other artists that are working there, and it eventually inspires him to become a doujinshi artist himself. And it starts him down this path of basically this kind of like almost otaku lifestyle, getting into this artist lifestyle, continuing to deal with the rest of these various artists that he's met along the way and the other people that become friends with him as he continues to work towards becoming an artist in his own right at these various events. So, if I'm giving this genres, it's a comedy. There's plenty of funny things happening, a lot of silly things. It does have a good degree of drama to it. It does not sugarcoat that the fact that this lifestyle as the doujinshi artist is not a very lucrative one and not a very easy one. So they don't sugarcoat that. So there's a huge drama to it of those that are trying to survive in this world and continue forward and make a name for themselves, maybe hit mainstream somewhere down the way. It's also a harem, though, because Kazuki has a whole bunch of girls that end up interested in him. He is his childhood friend. He has a bunch of the female artists that he befriends along the way, and so it does have a very light harem element to it. It does have a harem element to it, without going very big in the harem element. You can tell there's a lot of girls that like him, but he's focusing so much on his future. We're not worrying about that romance as much per se, which makes it very entertaining. When you don't focus on it, it's a little better. I don't mind it there, just don't hit me in the face with it. That's why I rate this one a 4. It's an older series. It's definitely a classic I would recommend. There's a bunch of manga series about it too, if you want to read some of the manga. There's a game, I believe, too. I watch more of the anime than any of the manga, so I could recommend that definitely. But if you want to read and go through any of them, it's some great material. And if you want to get into drawing comics and stuff, this is a great idea, especially like it gives you an idea how the Japanese market did work. It really hasn't changed since then, so it still kind of works like that if you want to look it up. Now, if you're using this as a BESM game, I'd recommend 175 points, and what you're going to do is make your group, a group of people working on doujinshi together. Now, it's, not as common in the actual doujinshi manga market that you have a group of people working together, but it does happen. And that's what your characters are going to represent. A group that are working together on a single piece of work. They're working together to create works, each of them having their own roles in it, each of them doing their own thing. All of them will work together to create this final product over the course of your adventures. They'll be continuing to make products. They'll then also promote said products, make sure they're getting them out to get them to various events, the doujin markets, all trying to become more popular, more mainstream, with hopes that maybe somewhere down the road, they can make their own manga series as a group. They basically will be working together as a group to accomplish things over a series of checks, series of decisions, kind of making choices. Think of them as almost designing their own comic in a way, along the way, their own doujinshi, and their reflection on how they're going to make it will be made through the dice rolls and stuff, but it'll be an interesting thing that they'll be producing something, and yet not actually producing something. Little quick trick of the game there. But that's it for today. I introduced you to 4 more anime series. I just went over them, reviewed them, and then I talked to you about how you can use them in your BESM games. Now, of course, as I said earlier, you don't have to just use them in BESM. You can use them in any role-playing game system you have to. If you just want to use them in a different one, you'll choose the role-playing game system. You just have to adapt the actual rules of it. The actual, character creation rules, adapt them. They can be done. Some of them are a lot easier than others. Some might be a challenge, but you can do it if you want to. And just the basic concepts I have of how you're going to set up your characters, how you're going to put them together, works in each of these worlds. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows support the channel, the empire, the work I do. If you have any more suggestions for anime series, manga series, anything else that you want me to put in here, go ahead and leave that in the comments. Always looking for more material that I can show you how to use. If you want to show some extra support for the channel, you can check out my Patreon, link in the description below. There are great rewards there and helps to support and grow the channel. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.